Hey guys, welcome back to Kobayashi Island. If this is your first time watching a video in the series, first of all, welcome. We're now 18 episodes in and coming back to the downtown after spending the last 5 episodes working towards the edge of the city. This episode is really for those of you who just love to watch road layouts and intersections and highways and off-ramps and all that fun stuff get built, because that's all that's going to happen this episode. We're going to start off here by just building the bare bones of the highways just to get the general shape of it down. As I was doing this episode and laying down these highways and the first big streets all over, I was trying to space out just how far apart these major roads were going to be. And I sort of realized, really, there's going to be a lot of big roads in downtown. I mean, the way I drew them, they're not super close together. There's definitely going to be a bunch of minor roads in between, but still there's so many big roads. There's this peninsula that sticks out from the downtown that I thought would have all the biggest skyscrapers. And before doing this, I thought it would just be one big road that went into it with some minor roads coming off of it. But at the end of this episode, I ended up having room for 5 big parallel roads leading into it. It's actually massive. I really didn't comprehend. So I'm definitely going to need to figure out a lot more cool things to make in the downtown to fill up all this space. But I also think this gives me the opportunity to find and download some larger assets from the workshop. I think it'd be cool, since I have the space, to figure out some really awesome big buildings and not just tall skinny ones like I was originally imagining. Like I've said before, this series is loosely based off of Tokyo, Japan, but more than anything I just want to make an awesome city. I know Tokyo has sort of a specific skyline where none of the buildings are exceptionally tall besides for the Sky Tree, which is more of a needle observatory than a traditional tall building. Since the city is on an island and has such a limited space, I think it would be fitting to take a little inspiration from places like Hong Kong or Singapore and do some more super tall, really epic skyscrapers. So I'm definitely excited to start that, hopefully in not too distant future. Before this episode, I spent some time looking at Google Maps and was noticing that in Tokyo, there really are a lot of grids in the downtown area. Personally, I think it's much more interesting not to be building straight grids in this game. So I tried to keep that feeling of grids in the downtown to match the Tokyo style, but still have a lot of bends in the road and different angles and different start and finish areas for each major road. This episode, I did a lot of work placing down highways and on and off ramps and toll booths, trying to connect up these highways that I placed down first to the major roads. There's one particular freeway interchange that I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's a really unique looking and compact interchange. It's donut shaped and it's all raised up off the ground. So I was thinking that it would basically be surrounded by buildings everywhere, even inside of it. This episode and overall, I definitely want to make all the interchanges and off-ramps have as small of a footprint in the city as possible. So there's really just room for more buildings. You can see me now kind of placing down some of these off-ramps, trying to keep them as close to the highway as possible. The other thing that I noticed when I was looking at Google Maps before this episode was that Tokyo has hardly any roundabouts. I mean, I literally couldn't find one. I had talked in a previous episode about how I wanted to make one large roundabout in the middle of downtown, but I guess I'm not doing that since I couldn't find one in Tokyo and clearly it doesn't fit the style of the city. So instead, I made a very, very large 5-way intersection. And it's the only one on the map that I'm going to make with any amount of detail. Since it's just so big, it's such a centerpiece for the downtown, and it's probably going to be dealing with so much traffic. I wanted to make sure that it not only looked good, but was also somewhat functional too. I used slip lanes for cars making hard right turns, and used the Traffic Manager Presidential Edition mod to make sure that all the lanes were going to the right places. I put down some decal lines, which in all honesty probably could be a little better than what I did, and barriers and some trees and stuff. I think overall put a little too much time into this, a little more than I really wanted to, but it is the main intersection on the island, so maybe it deserves it. I'm not really a master at hyper detail or anything. It takes me a little too long, and the end product is never as perfect as I would hope. So I don't necessarily think this intersection is really my best work, but I think for now it's okay, especially since I don't know what specifically is going around here yet, what buildings, what neighborhoods, and you never know, I could end up coming back and needing to redo the whole thing. So anyways, I'm just gonna continue building this freeway interchange here, and I'll be back in a little bit. Hey guys, so just to wrap things up here, I'm finishing this episode by building out two different train lines. They come out of the central station from opposite sides, but both curve and make their way to the same junction station right in the middle of the peninsula. One of them I think is going to dead end and stop there, right at the tip of the peninsula, and the other one is going to continue along the water away from the rest of the city. Last thing, I know I said I may do a metro or a monorail this episode, but I ended up not doing that. I still may at some point, but for now, I wasn't really liking the way that the elevated tram roads looked, and the metro seemed too similar to the trains, and I didn't really have any good monorail assets downloaded. So I didn't end up getting to that this episode. I did actually have this crazy idea of doing an elevated bus system where I use like double length articulating buses, the ones that bend in the middle. and then use like 1-lane highways throughout the downtown and a bunch of elevated bus stops. But I decided that was like a little too wacky for now, or maybe even for this series entirely. So no monorail this episode, no elevated bus thing, but overall I think this downtown still is a little lacking in public transportation. So at some point I'm gonna have to do that and really get another sort of system going in the downtown. Anyways, that's what I got for this episode. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Next episode is going to be super cool, I think. I'm building the main ferry terminal on the island. It's pretty unique looking and has a cool history to it, and I am very excited with the way that it turned out. So look forward to that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.